Hi everybody, and welcome back to Geezer Rider. This video is a review of an action camera, the Akaso V50X. And before we get into the Akaso V50X, I wanted to give you a little bit of brief history about how I came to this decision. So tried different ways to put a QI charging phone mount on the bike and charge or shoot video via my Samsung Galaxy S8, and that's what's recording this video with moderate success. The mount I chose actually blocked the rear camera, which is obviously what's preferable for video, and also wasn't sure I always wanted the phone out in the rain or bouncing around, even though I was fairly happy with the mount, you know, holding it securely, and I might want to use the phone independently of the video for Google Maps, things like that. So pretty sure I want to dive into an action camera. And my overall budget, basically all in, was under $200, preferably well under $200. And after doing my research, and you want to talk about going down a rabbit hole, I mean, you look at the sub $200 action camera market, and you better strap in for a few days worth of research, because just when you think you have one nailed, you'll find out the reviews on the site that you were looking at were all fake. Because over here they show a bunch of reviews where, you know, there are problems, and they all have their pluses and minuses. And in this segment, they're actually pretty strong pluses and minuses. So just for example, you know, the standard now is 1080p, 30 or 60 frames a second. Really what we're moving into is the 4K realm, at least 30 frames per second. And a lot of these sub $200 action cameras aren't true 4K. They're not native. They're using electronic video upscaling. Some of them do it well. Some of it do it very poorly, but none of them do it as well as native from what I've been able to see. So when I was done my research, what I really wanted was the DJI Osmo action camera. It had a number of things going for it. It was natively waterproof. It had good reviews. It had the ability to fit extra lenses. And DJI has a great reputation in the video industry for video accessories, drones, things like that. What it didn't have was really any accessories included. It came with one battery, didn't come with a lot of extras whatsoever, and the price point was about the $199 mark. It also didn't natively accept a microphone input, and you had to buy a $30 adapter in order to be able to plug in a 3.5 millimeter plug for a lavalier like this. So once I started tallying everything up and the other things I wanted to buy, well, I'm going to need an action camera mount to go on my RAM ball mount. And if I'm going to have RAM ball mount on the bottom of the action camera, and I got a RAM ball mount on my clutch and brake perch, then I'm also going to need a RAM double socket extension. And these were significant. This 6-inch double socket is actually marine grade aluminum. It was roughly $22. And the ball mount, I forget what it was. I think it was under 10 bucks. But, you know, all this stuff starts to add up. And oh, by the way, you're going to need to buy a memory card for the camera, regardless of what it is. There's another, you know, at least $10, $15. And then obviously the camera itself and whatever other accessories you're going to need. So as I continued to look into it deeper, I realized, you know, 4K 30 frames a second would probably hold me. It's theoretically an up level from this level of video quality, and I'll get you know, action cam with electronic and gyroscopic stabilization, since it's going to be on a bike, and at the moment it's going to be on a Harley, which they tend to shake a bit. You know, the engine is in a shock mounted cradle, but you know, they don't shake as violently as some of the other models. But I have a touring bike. It still shakes, especially at idle or lower speeds. So I wanted something with image stabilization, to make a long story short. So what I landed on was the Akaso V50X, and the V50X instead of the V50 Elite, because the Elite didn't have the potential to use an external microphone, and none of these darn things support Bluetooth microphones. They say they have Bluetooth, but it's BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, and it's basically for like a wrist-mounted start recording, stop recording type remote. They don't support Bluetooth audio. They say they have Wi-Fi and everything else. So you're going to wind up with some kind of wired connection of some sort, either to like a Rode Wireless Go, or we reviewed the Altson Wireless Go knockoff, but you still need to get that physical interface in there to begin the journey. So the Elite didn't have that. The V50X actually had that. It's not as straightforward as it sounds, and we'll get into that in a moment. So, you know, here we are, went ahead and ordered the V50X. As I said, it does 4K at 30 frames a second. It does 2.7K at 30 frames a second. It does 1080p up to 90 frames per second. You can go and read the reviews. You can look at the other videos, you know, channels that always review cameras, you know, are obviously going to do a much better job than we can. What we can do here, though, is speak directly to how this is going to work for use on a motorcycle, which is what we're going to do. So we'll do a unboxing. Pretty decent packaging, tamper evident tape on there, nice touch. Probably is not a knockoff. It's already made in China, but even stuff made in China gets cloned these days. All right, that's the camera, folks. There's your $100 right there. That tiny little thing, and it's in that little clear waterproof case. And then the rest is going to be batteries and a multitude of accessories. I saw somebody else do a review of this while I was doing my research, and they struggled to get stuff out of the box too. I'll probably edit some of this out so you don't have to watch me fumble and fidget with everything. Quick start guide. Here's the little remote that I was talking about. It has a little CR2032 battery in it, and you basically can put this on a wrist strap, or if you have it chest mount or whatever, and just basically hit record and stop. So, you know, very simplistic functions, but a little something thrown in that others charge extra for. And then a variety of, you know, the standard action camera clamp mount, more clamp mounts. And we have a battery charger, a double battery charger. Your membership into the exclusive Akaso Club, you know, your secret decoder pin, I guess. Battery number 1. Battery number 2, that's another thing. The DJI Osmo only came with 1 battery. And the Akaso came with 2 batteries. They were 1350 milliamp hours. They're pretty small. I'm going to assume they're lithium, maybe nickel metal hydride. Given the price point, I wouldn't be surprised to find either. Although hardly anybody is bothering with nickel metal hydride anymore. A 1/4-20 screw adapter mount. If you don't know what that is, just look at one of the camera channels. They'll talk you. Another 1/4-20 adapter. Here's the Velcro wrist strap that you would use with the on-off switch that we were talking about a moment ago. So you would pass this Velcroed strap through these loops, wrap it around your wrist, your handlebar, whatever. A braided cable, braided metal cable lanyard, a lens cleaning cloth, and some zip ties. I guess if you are belt and suspenders securing it to something, you have some double-sided foam tape and the zip ties, and the lanyard's a nice touch. I don't know if it'll be anti-theft or what. Variety of cloth Velcro zip ties, nice of them to include, and a charging cable, USB charging cable. Looks like micro USB to standard USB for the battery charger. And you have a separate rear case cover, it looks like, for the back of the camera. So this is definitely a compromise based on what I set out to get. And that is, I really wanted something that was natively weatherproof, that I didn't have to keep in a case in order to get weather resistance or waterproof. And the reason for that is I wanted to be able to access the microphone connector. And that's a fail on two fronts for this device. And obviously I bought it anyway, so I think it's going to work for me. But if you can see through the side of the case, I'll see if it'll focus here, there's a couple of USB connectors on the side. One of those is actually the microphone connector. Why they used a non-standard connector, didn't use 3.5 millimeter, who knows, but apparently the GoPros do this as well. Additionally, with this model and the regular V50, they claim that you can't use anybody else's microphone, it just won't work. And some of the reviews I saw said it doesn't work. And apparently it doesn't work that much better with the Akaso mic. But if you buy the mic from Akaso, they claim compatibility. And it has a, get that down a little bit, a micro USB connector. I'm looking at the cord length on this. I'm not sure if it's going to be long enough to reach from the handlebar mounted, RAM mounted camera up to my helmet or near my helmet to get audio. I don't really want to mount the camera to my helmet, though I may wind up doing so. We'll see. But either way, I'm going to have a cable coming out of it, either go into a lavalier mic like this, or have something in between, like, the Rode Wireless Go clone that I brought. So what I'm researching now is trying to find an adapter that'll go from USB-C to 3.5 millimeter so that I can use a regular mic like this and use my wireless connection, so I don't have to have a tether between my camera and a lavalier mic on my helmet. I can at least be isolated. What I preferably would like to do is like what I'm able to do with the Samsung Galaxy S8 in my helmet, and that is use the Bluetooth that's built into my helmet as the broadcast. And the audio on that is actually not all that bad. If the face shield's down or mostly down, there's not that much wind noise. It's actually, the mic isn't underpowered, it's actually a little overpowered. It comes through a little overdriven, so I have to attenuate that. I did one ride video with the phone as a test. So this is, again, a compromise. I'm limiting my expenditure because this is the first foray into an action camera for us, and we don't want to overspend. We're going to take lessons learned if we decide something we want to do, and we'll save up and get something a little better. And it'll probably be, if we take the next step, it'll probably be something even a little better than the DJI Osmo Action. But if you have the ways and means to afford that, out of the gate, I would suggest that. Just make sure that you tally up all your costs, because like I said, it's $30 just for the audio adapter for that. And I'm hoping if I can find a cable or adapter that'll work with this, it's going to be, in the sub $10 range. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll get the memory card mounted, I'll get the batteries charged up, and we'll do a couple of test videos with this, and I'll inject them into this video so that you can see the quality. And then later on, I'll take it out on a ride video and we'll get going. Testing audio, checking things out. Assume this is zoom. Zoom out. This is low light conditions. I'm going to jitter it up and down a bit and see how well it stabilizes jittering. Okay, this is a 4K 30 frames per second video recording, low light conditions, and the external mic, which looks pretty cheesy, and the clip is like right up against the foam of the mic, so like you have to compress the foam and compress against the mic to open the clip, which is a bad design. So I've got image stabilization turned on this time and gyroscope, and I'm going to shake it a lot. Shaking, 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 and we'll see what happens. A little more shaking, a little more talking, talking straight ahead, talking down towards the lavalier mic, talking away from the lavalier mic to the left, talking away from the lavalier mic to the right. if you persevered and got through those two audio clips, the first one with the internal mic and the second one with the Akaso V50 specific external mic, I appreciate your perseverance. And unfortunately, this took kind of a dark turn. I was really hoping to be able to give a positive review of this camera for multiple reasons. One, obviously, I wanted it to work for the channel, so we could use it to provide you with some videos. And secondly, at the price point, it would have been a way to get other creators into, everybody's struggling financially right now. We're still, battling our way out of the pandemic and currently entertaining another strain. But, there's hope on the horizon, but a lot of people have turned to making videos, some as their sole source of income. So this would have been a rather comparatively inexpensive way to get somebody into a 4K camera without too much investment. So I think I related before that, with Amazon and with free shipping, I found the camera for roughly $99. The external mic was roughly $10. And, hoping that that plus, motorcycle specific accessories would be enough to get us going. So unfortunately, the testing is exactly what you saw. Afterwards, that was on the 28th of the month. Afterwards, I did troubleshooting for the balance of the day and on into the morning of the 29th, on which I opened a case with Akaso. And I want to note that I opened that case from my Akaso account. So I had logged in, I had registered, I put the little blurb up about the card. If you went through that registration process there, they added an additional 12 months of warranty. That was actually a big in the plus column, provided support was going to be good, and that extra 12 months actually meant something. So again, went through all the troubleshooting steps, reset the camera, did every little homey remedy I could find on YouTube videos and stuff. And as I continued to dive even deeper, normally would do a lot of research and would have or should have found this, but the common complaint about this camera is audio, just nonstop, and it doesn't matter whether you're using the internal mic or the external mic. So in researching the troubleshooting, I found even more negative reviews. So if you get off Amazon's reviews and you go to, just regular other Google reviews or, non-sponsored reviews and YouTube videos, you're going to find some detrimental comments about the audio for this camera. So I opened a case on the 29th. All throughout the 30th, I did not get any response whatsoever, and opened a support case with Amazon. We went through all the same steps together and determined that, either the camera wasn't functional or the firmware, which was confirmed to be the most recent firmware, had a bug in it that was either persistent or undid previous fixes, or the camera was just bad, and either it's bad in general or there are some bad cameras slipping through their quality control stream. So having not heard back from Akaso, and I didn't actually call the 888 number, which I should have done in retrospect, but especially this time of year, you figure they would be monitoring their support cases more closely. So long story short, I returned the Akaso V50X to Amazon and will move on to another camera. Penny wise, pound foolish. I think I mentioned in the Altson wireless mic video that, while being frugal and, having that coupon sense, you don't want to paint yourself into a corner with a bad product and just be wishing every time you used it, if I had only spent $50 more or whatever, or just taken a little longer time to save up for something, that I would have wound up with something better and not had these issues. And I think that is, at least to date, a case in point here, where for the extra, I'm guessing $110, I could have gotten into the DJI Osmo Action Camera and purchased the audio adapter that allows you to plug in a 3.5 millimeter microphone. And the Osmo is natively waterproof, where the Akaso is not. It has to be inside that plastic case in order to be waterproof, which means you get no audio, internal microphone or external microphone, unless you drill a hole through the side of the case, which renders it no longer waterproof. So again, and in the video, I mentioned that, you know, the Akaso V50X was going to be a compromise for a variety of reasons, but given the price point, we were going to give it a chance. So again, returned the V50X to Amazon, and I went ahead and ordered the Osmo Action, which has great reviews, and DJI has been around in the professional filmmaking and photography sector for a long time, has a great reputation, and they are putting out firmware updates around once a month from what I can gather. And somebody might say, oh, that means that they have a lot of deficiencies. Or it could mean that they're really responsive to the customer input they're getting and making improvements. And that, from what I'm able to determine, is actually the case. The latter is the case. They're taking customer suggestions and customer complaints, and they're incorporating them into firmware updates. And there's apparently a lot they're able to do by tweaking the firmware, all to make the experience a little better. So fast forward to the 31st of the month, and I did hear back from Altson support. And there's something I need to tell you. When I went to check on the status of my Altson case on the 30th, my account had been disabled. So on the 29th, I posted up the problems that I was having. And obviously on the 28th and 29th, obviously on the 28th, I had been able to log into, you know, multiple parts of the portal without incident. And coincidentally, after I opened the support case, I go into monitor the status of the case that I opened on the 29th, and on the 30th, the account is deactivated. Either the password's no longer valid, the username's no longer valid, or both. Interesting. Coincidental at best. Needless to say, that was extremely disappointing. So I finally did get an email response on the 31st from Altson, and they asked for basic information, which they should have already had from opening the case, because all that had to be provided in order to open the case. So that is either their CRM system, their customer database is lacking. The tech who took the support case was just being lazy, or they just have a myriad of internal problems. And they were basically going to start the process from zero. The email asked for this basic information that I had already provided, versus, taking into account the troubleshooting steps that I already took, and moving forward from there. So, I wrote them a fairly nice email. I related the experience as I've told it to you here, and said, I wish them well. I want to see other manufacturers succeed in the sector, and especially at this price point. But, the product that I got was nowhere near ready for prime time. And the unfortunate takeaway from this was, outside of the audio issues, let's suppose somebody, they were fine with dubbing audio on top of the video, or they didn't need audio at all, and they just wanted a camera. Removing audio from the camera at that price point, the 4K video and the image stabilization and the color, without having to tweak a multitude of settings, it just wasn't there. The value wouldn't be there without the audio. So, if you we're going to go ahead and get this and just say, well, I'm still going to get into 4K video at the $99 price point, and I don't really care about audio so much, I think there are probably other cameras that would do the 4K video a little better than the V50X. But I did let them know that, I take the information I provide to the users very seriously. Right now, we're not sponsored by anybody. We don't have any affiliate marketing programs, and we pay for all the equipment out of our own pocket. But that I would be willing to review a camera, and if it was ready for the retail channel, that my review would be honest and fair, and we would tell the truth. If it was a test unit, like they had made changes and they wanted somebody to field test it, I would hold that information close to the vest until such time as they took the results and recommendations, should it need additional tweaking, back to Akaso and make the changes and provide another one to review. But I wouldn't just post a follow-up video and say, hey, they said they fixed it. Because obviously, you know, they thought they had fixed stuff in the latest 2020 firmware release that they have out there, and things are still awry. So my hope for Akaso is that they continue a quality improvement process, that they fix this issue, and I hope that they just have a subset of these cameras in the retail channel that have this defect, and it's not an engineering defect that is across the board, because that's inexcusable. That means they're using the market as their beta testers, and I have no tolerance for that. So again, my offer was out there to Akaso. We're, you know, not the biggest channel. We're not a photography channel, you know, by any stretch of the means, but we are a consumer looking for this product, and offered to review it and post an update as, you know, information becomes available. And I'll take a look at the reviews from time to time, even if Akaso doesn't reach back out and just say, hey, I noticed that, you know, things are improving for this model, or they abandoned the model and, you know, put out something else instead, or whatever may be the case. So with that being said, what's going to be coming is a review on this, you know, a follow-up on the Akaso V50, if there's one available from, you know, an update available from Akaso and or other YouTube reviews. Additionally, the good news is that means that we got another camera coming, which holds a lot more promise, fingers crossed, and we'll be doing a review of that as well, the Osmo Action. And we have great hope for that, and get some ride videos done with that. So we'll do a review, we'll do some audio tests, just like we did with the Akaso, and start posting some ride videos. Please leave your comments, like the video if you did, and we greatly appreciate you hitting the subscribe button and supporting us in that fashion. Ride safe. Namaste.